Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So all the important news and editorial that will be relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 15th of February. The first important news, that is World Meteorological Organization's report on sea level rise and threat. We'll see the country that is mostly prone to that. Second, Air India to purchase 470 Boeing and Airbus plane. This is the largest deal with Air India after the final acquisition that is there. Third, Army to set close around 80 deals. Second last, there are two editorial, that is shaping a more disabled friendly ecosystem. This is from The Hindu, and the last editorial from Indian Express, a green transition labelers. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin the session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news, that is World Meteorological Report on sea level rise threat, something important for General Studies paper 3, that is under the subtopic Conservation, Environmental Pollutions, Degradation and EIA. So according to the new report, which was published by the World Meteorological Organization, it says that the population potential exposed to a 100-year coastal flood is projected to increase by 20%. Very important. And when a report which is coming from an organization like World Meteorological Organization, this has to be put in with more caution. It says that the projection will increase about higher than 20%, and if a global mean sea level rises by 0.1% meter relative to 2020 level. So these are the concerns that need to be addressed at global level. And also, according to the future estimates based on the climate model, the ocean and atmosphere physics ke mutabik, the speed of melting of a largest global ice mass is in Antarctica is uncertain. This is the categorically highlighted point of the World Meteorological Report. Now, countries that with the highest threat and prone to the sea level rise, कौन-कौन से ऐसे countries हैं जिन पे negative consequences ज़्यादा होनी है? According to the new report, which was published by WMO, it says that the country like India, China, Bangladesh, and Netherlands will face the highest threat of sea level rising globally. So again, a point of caution for you. You have to remember the name. If you're writing in mains paper specifically, you have to jot down the part. Now, the report, which was labeled as Global Sea Rise and Implication, has stated that several big cities and all continents are threatened by the rise in sea level. So this is again, the IPCC report has also highlighted categorically that the rise in sea level will impact the cities. This include the cities like Shanghai, Dhaka, Bangkok, Jakarta, Mumbai, Opto, Lagos, Cairo, London, Copenhagen, New Delhi, and even New York. Basically for India will include New Delhi part, Los Angeles, Buenos and Santiago. So these are the country that is these are the cities that are most prone to the part of that. Now, sea level rise threat, the coastal farmland and water reserve are resilient of the infrastructure as well as human life and livelihood, right? So these are the part of the negative consequences that can have if a sea level is rising. Now, impact of climate change, categorically, broadly speaking, the climate change will increasingly put pressures on the food productions and their accessibility, especially to the vulnerable region. Second is undermining the food security and nutritional and increase in the frequency to that. Intensity and severity of drought, flood and heat waves will be there, and continued sea level rise will also increase the risk to food security in vulnerable region. Now, talking about the graphical part, the representation part, if you see, there's something that need to be taken into consideration. Why? Because there are 50% of thermal expansions, 22% of ice losses from glaciers, 8% from the changes in the land and water storage, and 20% from the loss of ice sheet. So when water get warmer, it causes the volume of water to increase. So basic point, I think from a geographical point of view, a direct question might be relevant. And what is 0.20 meters global mean sea level rise, which was there from 1901 to 2080. So this is a graphical representation of that. And even if you want to read more, you can take this screenshot of this so that you can revise for better purposes. Now the second news, that Air India to purchase 470 Boeing and Airbus planes, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interest and India's diaspora. So we'll see the detail about this news. That is, recently Air India has announced a plan to acquire 470 craft from Airbus and Boeing under the deal that will potentially worth $10 billion. The agreement is important because it will be a step towards deepening the strategic ties with countries like United States and even Britain, right? It is about Britain, or better you can say UK, United Kingdom. It is about a year since the government handed over Air India to Tata Group. Now they are wholly owning this company, and this is the largest deal that Air India have ever witnessed. Now, roadmap की अगर बात करें, Air India ने कहा है that they will be buying 250 aircraft from Airbus, and there will be also the part of Boeing that will be there. So 290 plane as a part of their total procurement. According to the Boeing, Air India has selected 290 of its jets to serve the part of sustainable growth, and Air India has selected 190 737 MAX, 20 787 Dreamliner, and 10 77X aeroplanes. So these are the part of the purchase that will be made, and the agreement between the Boeing and Air India include the options of 50 additional MAX and 20 787-9 aircraft. The Prime Minister of India and has invited the Boeing and other US companies to make opportunities arising due to expanding civil aviation sector in the country. Now, this is the largest deal. 70 wide body ultra long range aircraft will include the deal, and this will carry 300 to 408 passengers in 3 class configurations. From India, these aircraft can fly non-stop to the United States. 470 new aircraft to Air India, 250 from Airbus, and 220 from Boeing. Right, 400 are narrow body, which will include the carry part of 140 to 170 passengers, and this can be operated in India and country close to that. So again, Air India is looking forward to augment the overall operations across India and for many other global levels. Now, Army to set closed round of 80 deals, something important for General Studies paper 2 under the subtopic, that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementation. And this particular news is also important for General Studies paper 3, where defense forces, securities and their mandate are concerned. So Indian Army, which is currently executing the 4th tranches of emergency procurement, has identified nearly 80 deals that was roughly valued around 15,000 crore rupees. Now, what are the details of that deal? Basically, the Indian Army is looking forward for Indigenous light combat helicopters, and Army is set to receive the Indigenous light utility vectors, जो helicopters हैं, जिसे LUH के नाम से भी जाना जाता है. It will replace 200 aging cheetahs and chetaks, which is in service currently. Now, on the helicopter front, the Indigenous light combat helicopters will be there in the part of Indian Army, and there will be more versatile and maneuverability which will be there, because one, this is a light combat helicopter which is mostly suitable for the mountain region. If you see in the mountain region, which is the bordering part of the northeast or either POK is concerned, the light combat helicopter is mostly preferred by the security personnel, right? So the LCH is the first dedicated attack helicopter operated by the Indian Army. And even if you see the part of the Indian Army that first moved the LCH Squadron 351 Army Aviations in Assam region, that is in the line of actual control in 2022. So this is the images of light combat helicopters, right? LCH भी जिसे कहते हैं. This was the image. Now, relevance of helicopters in warfare, according to the army chief, the anti-tank missile that is selected for LCH was an indigenous Elena that was clear for the trial. And even once the final part is done, it will be inducted in the Air Force. The LCH fall in the category of research and observations. The Indianizations of air defense gun were a priority for the forces, and even for the integrated electronic warfare system that is being tested along the line of actual control. So once these things are put in place, definitely in terms of augmenting the part of अगर बात करें Indian Army की, or even Indian Air Force, they will be improving the overall state of art technology, incorporating the light helicopters to their end, and even the overall capabilities of the Indian force will also increase. Now, moving to the editorial for the day. This is the first editorial from The Hindu, shaping a more disabled-friendly digital ecosystem. Something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic of General Studies, that is welfare schemes for the vulnerable section of the population by the center and the state government. Now, what are the issues under this editorial? Talking about first theme, that is disabled-friendly digital ecosystem. Like there will be data on disability. What is there? The apps and evaluations which is required, the use of AI, that is artificial intelligence and algorithm, and the way forward. So in India, the principal disability right law, that is the right of person with disability 2016 mandate that every service provider, whether the government or private, must take the service disabled friendly or differently able friendly in accordance to the rule which is there in terms of accessibility formulated by the government of India, which is relatively very difficult. So these things need to be taken care of once a policy is formulated. It must be accessible for all differently abled people. Now, data on disables की अगर बात करें, as per census 2011, they noted that 2.21% of Indian population is disabled and is under the gross underestimation. So important point, if you're writing in specifically in mains examination, this 4 point will help you. And according to the World Health Organization, about 16% of the global population is differently able or disabled. Now, apps and evaluations की अगर बात करें, during or post COVID-19, we have seen that the part of apps and technology has increased to individual life, right? So the app uses has extended in groceries, food, medicines, socializing, entertainment, and education. So there's a long way to go. And when it comes to app which is disabled friendly, the companies need to put impetus and focus so that they're working in the right directions. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines says that there should be app which should evaluate the part of this, and an app should be developed which is actually helping these populations. Now they need to have a network in coordinations, and even for the service provider, it will help them to participate and process not only to improve the app accessibility, but also to educate the stakeholders about the accessibility with the people with disabilities. Now, on the part of using AI and algorithms, अगर बात करें AI की artificial intelligence जो है वो further automate करेगी process को, उनकी accessibility को बढ़ाएगी, and even feedback from the disabled people will be there, which can now be analyzed. उनके क्या ज़रूरतें हैं, the insights from the developer part will also be taken into consideration, right? So this is on a positive note that the developer part will improve and incorporate the necessity that is required by the population. They will have a positive developments from the courts lately, where they have asked that the accessibility across the sector should be pushed and accessibility should be the need arise. Apart from this, the government of India, right? अगर government of India की बात करें, बहुत सारे ऐसे initiatives लिए गए हैं जहाँ पे कोशिश ये की गई है कि जो disabled friendly infrastructures भी हों, ये सारी चीजों की development हो, right? Currently, the technology is in use to automate a large number of accessibility and test and combine it with in-depth manual testing to provide comprehensive accessibility feedbacks to the developers. Now, way forward in this regard will be first that securing more disable-friendly digital ecosystem must be the convention. And even a conviction के साथ काम करने की जरूरत है that everything digital must be accessible to everyone. There should be no limitation. It should not limit anyone, right? It should be accessible to all. And even just start with incorporating the principle of accessibility and inclusive design in every digital offering right from inceptions. And India need to be truly accessible for all people with the disabilities part. Organizations, companies, civil society, and government and court must also make this happen. So the stakeholders, the participants, which is there, should also help out so that the disabled people or differently able people are actually being benefited from the overall policies of the government of India. Now, moving to the second editorial of the day, again very important, which talks about green transition enablers, something important for General Studies paper 2, under the subtopic of General Studies, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from a design and implementation. Now, this particular editorial is also important for General Studies paper 3, where environmental pollutions, degradation, and EI is concerned. Now, what are the issues under this editorial? First is about theme. Theme is like green transition. We look into the part of electricity deficit, recommendations that is given, India's G20 presidency, how it can help out, and the way forward. So energy transitions की अगर बात करें, the key factor to achieve the sustainability of the environment and even transition, the key factor is to achieve the sustainable development and climate goal. Energy transition की अगर बात करें in terms of the central theme, even for India, which is the current chair for G20, the main agenda is also there, where G20 members are prioritizing on the part of energy transitions. And in 2023, during the India's presidency, the geopolitics and the governance of energy have become immensely challenging. And the shift from the fossil fuel to renewable energy would be there to about energy security. Talking about India's commitment, where India has categorically talked about net zero emissions target by 2070 and many other targets that India would achieve by 2030 is also there. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डेफिसिट की अगर बात करें, इंटरनेशनल एनर्जी एजेंसी जिसे IEA भी कहते हैं, IEA has categorically reported that 20 million people across the world will be there without electricity as compared to 2021. And the worst affected region is sub-Saharan region, which is back to the lowest rate of electrifications since 2030. And in Europe, the numbers of people experiencing adequate energy supply has risen to 80 million from 34 million in 2021. So you can see the worldwide deficit of electricity. And even for the middle income countries like Africa, South America, and Asia, the face fuel is also there in terms of shortage because of high level of inflation also. The number of countries has also faced the balance of payment crisis driven by high energy cost. Energy poverty is a global and widespread, impacting technological part in terms of implementing in industries, sustainable environment goal, which is also the G20 goal. The G20 के targets में ये सारी चीजों को prioritize की गई है, and even India is looking for the energy transition, which will not only help India but all the member countries, and apart from member countries, it will help impact on the global level. Now, some recommendations which is there by the Gateway House. This was a task force that was formulated, and it gave its report in October 2022, which seeks to urgently find a way to provide energy accessibility, access, and affordability. So this required the conflict between short, long-term energy, addressing energy disruptions that is caused by COVID-19 pandemic, Russia's Ukraine conflict, using create and accelerate the development, adaptation, renewable technologies, business, and utilizing the part. So G20 has a key role to play in advancing the solutions also. Now, how India's G20 presidency can be game changer in this regard? So definitely G20 should have focus on the financial support. Financial support is an important component, and even not only from government agency, the public and private partnership is also required. We'll discuss that in the later part of the video. So, अगर बात करें financial support की, it's needed as a cornerstone for the climate actions and energy transition in the United Nations framework for climate change, जहाँ पे UNFCCC ने and even Paris Climate और successive COPs ने इस पे बात की है. So this is again a very important point that you must take a note of. Now, its natural role of G20 can play an involvement of leading economies and even conveying the power to that. Public finance, which is again an important component, would not be only enough with the energy which is there. So private finance की भी जरूरत है, PPP model पे भी काम की जा सकती है. And G20 has a critical role to play in strengthening the global agenda, including the continued step in climate finance by the multilateral bank also. It's not at national level, but multilateral bank support financing the part of transition will definitely help. Now, way forward, a possible game change would be on the creations of climate global finance agency, जिसे GCFA भी कहते हैं. This will integrate on the drive as a part of global agenda, including the very practice level. And G20 can also harness a significant power on the public procurement system that could accelerate the energy transition. So public procurement की अगर बात करें, it has an important role to play in accelerating the part of green technology, new technology such as green hydrogen, which India has also come up with National Green Hydrogen Mission. Electric vehicles transport system connected with a renewable power system and a smaller module nuclear reactor where G20 can provide a global impetus and inspiration. So this is how the things would work out. Our collaborations and cooperations at the global level is essentially required. अगर G20 की context में बात करें, सारे member countries को support करने की जरूरत है ताकि एक global level पे impression जाए that energy transition is very important. Sustainability of environment is very important. Now moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is D. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. The first question is Social Hostilities Index was released by which of the following organization? Niti Aayog, Pew Research Center, Amnesty International and World Economic Foundation. So you have to check which among the following is the correct one. Second is Lencimanab was recently seen in news, among which of the following options is correct? New testing lab, a drone and antibiotics, or a types of virus. So do check it out for the correct option. Practicing a lot more question will help you and give you an edge for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQs. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.